What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Evan and I make videos about hot stocks, dividends, and options. So if that interests you guys, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss when I upload. Now again, today we're going over Palantir and why they've been shooting up so much today. And we're also going to go over why ARK Invest continues to add shares of Palantir almost on a daily basis, it seems like lately. And then towards the end, I'll kind of give my opinions on what I think of Palantir and whether I think that they're a buy right now or whether I think they're overpriced. But looking at the share price today, Palantir is up over 14%. And a big reason for this big spike that we're seeing today is because Palantir actually got a deal with the FDA and it's for a pretty big amount of money. And so that is the main reason why Palantir is up over 14%. But we're going to go over some of the details of this deal that they made with the FDA and why investors think this is a good and bullish thing for Palantir. But looking at the 1 week, Palantir is actually down 2.8% and they've had a pretty up and down week. They haven't been very steady at all. If we look here on December 1st, they were right around the same price they are today, around this $25 and $26 area. Then they dropped pretty hard on December 2nd because Citron Research actually shorted Palantir and said that they weren't worth what they're trading for. And we've seen this with other stocks as well, like NEO. Citron came out and said that NEO was worth about half what they were trading for, and NEO saw a pretty big dip that trading day. And so now they're shorting Palantir as well. And obviously we did see them pull back here from 25 down to 22 or so. But shortly after they recovered on December 3rd and they were back up to around $25. Then they kind of tapered off through the end of last week and now they're back up because of this news from the FDA. But I also just want to look at the overall market today. You can see that SPY is down 0.3% and they started the day not too much in the red. They were down right around 0.1% or so. And then within the last hour or so, they pulled back and now they're down about 0.4 to 0.3. And this isn't terrible because SPY doesn't make big moves up or down too drastically. And so to see them down in the red 0.3 or 0.4% isn't terrible. Because if we look at the 1 week, SPY is up 0.85% and it's been a pretty steady upwards trend most of last week and into today as well. And so an upwards trend in the overall market could have a good influence on Palantir as well. It's a lot easier for a stock to pull back when the overall market is pulling back. And so vice versa, it kind of helps as well when the overall market's going up. It's easier for a stock like Palantir, which is relatively new. It can kind of rely on the overall market more and go up with the trends of the overall market. But now jumping into ARK Invest, if you guys aren't familiar with ARK Invest, they basically invest in disruptive innovation. And they have quite a few actively managed ETFs here that you can see. And they range from just general investing to internet ETFs. And the one we're actually going to look at here is the Genomic Revolution ETF. And this is where they have their shares of Palantir. And if you guys want to check this out, you guys just have to look up ARK Invest and then find the Explore ETFs button at the bottom of their website and it will bring you to this page here. But we're going to take a specific look into Palantir and how many shares of Palantir ARK Invest is buying almost on a daily basis. Now this website here is called Lucid Tracking and it lets you track what ARK Invest is adding to their actively managed ETFs. So you can see how many shares they're adding on a daily or weekly basis of specific stocks. So I just went to Lucid Tracking, looked up Palantir, and then it brings us here. And if we scroll down here, this is where it shows the fund that we're looking at here, ARKW, and it shows how many shares ARK Invest is buying on a daily basis. So December 4th, which would have been last Friday, you can see from December 3rd to the 4th, they bought right around 20,000 shares here, and that was at a cost of $436,000. And everywhere that there's green here, this is when they're buying and red is when they're selling shares. And so if we look at the dates over here, you can see ARK Invest is almost buying on a daily basis. And if you guys want to check this out, you guys can scroll down and you can see every day that they bought shares. And it goes all the way back to October 15th here where they started out with 20,000 shares. And you can see since then, they've almost added shares on a daily basis. And so obviously because ARK Invest has these ETFs that have crazy high growths, they must know something that the average investor doesn't know because a lot of their ETFs over the past year have a growth rate of over 100% and some over 150%. So obviously they see something in these stocks like Palantir that the average investor might not be considering. But now getting into why Palantir is actually up today, and it's because of this deal with the FDA for $44 million. And this basically just spiked up their price today. And so we're going to kind of go into the details here. So to start off with, here it says that it's a 3-year deal with the FDA, and Palantir's software is going to be used in the drug approval process, possibly including treatments for the current pandemic that we're experiencing. And their software can also be used to judge the safety of treatments such as hand sanitizer, which is obviously a big thing right now, considering the pandemic that everybody is experiencing. But just from this deal that they've made with the FDA for $44 million, we saw their stock trade up over $27, which was up 14%. And it's actually tripled since September when they IPO'd. There's a lot of investors piling into these software companies and just the tech and EV sector as a whole. And so a company like this is seeing pretty drastic growth. And we're also going to go over some of the growth that they could continue having, which is pretty crazy when you look at the broad view of where they've come from and where they could go in the future. So we're going to go over that in a little while too. But in terms of government contracts, these actually account for more than half of Palantir's revenue. But even though half of Palantir's contracts come from the government, there's a lot of people out there that don't believe in Palantir, and they say that their price isn't worth nearly what they're trading for. Like right here, it says Morningstar analyst Mark Cash likes Palantir, but puts a fair value at $13, which is obviously half of what they're trading for right now. And I think this is going to be a common thing that we're going to see, because as a company grows exponentially and they have these ridiculous gains, there's going to be a lot of short sellers. And a big reason for that is that they're going to cause panic in the market. People are going to sell out of their positions, and these short sellers can make money as they're shorting the stock. So just something to keep in mind, and look out for the fact that there's going to be short sellers on every stock, and it shouldn't really cause panic as long as you're looking at the long-term growth of a stock like Palantir. I don't think this should be a stock where you just jump in and buy shares just to swing trade or day trade. A software company like Palantir should be a long-term growth play. But it says here at the bottom, while 93% of sales come from existing customers, Palantir is showing that they have a growing sales funnel, which is pretty crucial for their long-term success. And I think another thing to look forward to for Palantir in the future is whether they can be sustainable and whether they can make their software less hands-on and have it maintain itself. Because right now, the way it is, I think there's too much hands-on with Palantir, and so it could be limiting their future potential. But looking at what their company is, I'm sure they're going to figure that out and hatch it out in the future, and they'll be able to make it more self-reliant. But it's just something to keep in mind with them going forward, and whether they do have that plan for long-term success. But now looking at the annual gains that Palantir could reach, it says here that they could get up to 1,386% gains. Now this is based on the fact that they've gone up 231% through December 3rd since their IPO in September, and that was at a price of $7.25. And obviously now we're seeing them trading right around $26 and $27. But it says here, if we imagine for a second that Palantir grows at such a rate over the next 9 months, that's where we're going to get that 1,386% growth, if they continue at the current trend that they're trading at right now. Now, the chances of that happening are pretty slim. When a company shoots up these crazy amounts, they probably aren't going to sustain that for an extended period of time. I mean, to give you a good example, if we look at NIO, we know that they have a lot of future growth potential with all these things that they're implementing in the future, but they shot up these crazy amounts in the last few months, and now they're finally starting to level off and consolidate right around $45 or so. And because of this consolidation, after seeing these crazy gains, a lot of investors are worried that NIO is dropping or that they're going to be delisted or things like that, where it's just a consolidation period and people really don't need to panic. But what I'm getting at is that a stock like this likely won't have these kinds of gains for an extended period of time, like 9 more months. They're likely going to start leveling off, and we're going to see what they're truly worth here in the next few months or so. But it says that based on approximately 2.3 billion shares outstanding at their IPO in September and a $7.25 reference price, Palantir had a market cap of $16.4 billion. And then after their first day of trading, they were at $9.73 a share. So in total, that brought their market value up to $22.4 billion, and they had an enterprise value at $21.2 billion at the beginning of October. So again, I don't think this kind of growth is very sustainable for an extended period of time. Now, I'm not saying long-term Palantir isn't going to be worth a lot more in the future. I do think they're going to be, and I think there's a lot of potential for them in the future. But the kind of growth that you see early on like this is just hype, and it's just because so many people are hearing about Palantir for the first time. There's no realistic reason to explain why a stock would go up almost 1,400% in 1 year, especially considering the fact that they're not profitable yet. Now, yes, they are increasing revenue every quarter and every year, but they're not into the profits yet. And so to see people putting this kind of value on a company without a profit, I think we're obviously going to see them start leveling off, and they're probably not going to see a 1,400% gain in the first year. At least that's kind of my assumption. Now, I could be wrong. You never really know. They could go up 2,000% in the first year. But I'm more conservative on the share price here. And I think if you think in terms of a lower share price, then you're going to be surprised when the share price actually goes up beyond what you figured it would be at. But now if you were to buy Palantir today, you'd be paying at least 42 times their sales. And it says that their third quarter results provided sales guidance for the full year in 2020 of $1.07 billion to $1.072 billion, which was 44% higher than a year earlier. And an analyst estimate says that in 2021 revenue, they're going to be at $1.41 billion, which is 32% higher than 2020. And so on a forward basis, you'll be paying 29 times sales. So this kind of growth obviously is not sustainable for an extended period of time. But again, we can look at stocks like Apple or Amazon, and they've always been overvalued, and people always thought that they weren't worth what they were trading for, despite the fact that investors continued trading these stocks. And so they're going to trade for what people think they're worth, whether they're overvalued or 29 times sales. So it really is up to the investors and the funds that are investing in these companies to kind of give the value of what the company is worth. Because as we know, investors kind of make the price of the stock because it's what they think it's worth. Now, if you guys have made it this far into the video, I want to hear if you guys are investing in Palantir right now and what your guys' average share price is and how many shares you have, if you guys are open to sharing that down in the comments. I'm sure that would help out a lot of people if they have a relatively high share price to kind of feel like they're not alone, because I do think this is a long-term play and they should be worth way more in the future. But that's just the thing though. You can't be too emotionally attached to a stock like this that could see drops or gains of 20% in a single day. So again, let me know your guys' average share price and how many shares you have down in the comments if you guys are open to sharing that. Lastly, if you guys haven't signed up for Webull, make sure you guys sign up using the link in the description and you'll get 4 free stocks when you sign up and deposit $100. Also, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like because it really does help out the channel. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you back here in the next one. Bye.